Hello, I'm Trent Goodmanson here in my studio. There we are. Hi. I just wanted to talk about this ballerina painting real quick. Give you maybe something that would be helpful to you. Maybe not, maybe you already do this, but let me turn it back around. All right, just for context, this is a 30 by 40 painting, oil painting. It's on 1/4" masonite. So like hardboard panel with cotton duck canvas glued to it and primed and then painted on with several layers of oil. It's just so you know what you're looking at here. I typically paint in a way that emphasizes texture. At least nowadays I do. Big shapes and texture has always been something I go for. So in that way, it kind of goes quickly. And in this one, you know, if you take certain parts, like a certain quadrant of the painting, you know, it really is just an abstract. There's nothing really there to indicate any type of realism. Not much more in this quadrant. I mean, you can kind of see the arm. And if you take out the face, you know, again, there's not much there. And so it's only in context with the rest of the painting that anything really makes sense. And you really, you know, I guess that's how anything we look at in the world works. You know, our brain puts shapes and values and movement in context and creates this world around us. And of course, we're just doing that in an abstract way with whether we're photorealists or full-on non-objective abstract artists. The principle is the same, that these, quote, big shapes, and even in photorealism, if you zoom in far enough, they're still big shapes. You could think in terms of pixelization on a very small level. But those all come together to create this visual experience that we have. And these two-dimensional planes here trick our brains into thinking that it's a real-life object. Anyway, enough pontificating about art in general for a moment. I just wanted to talk specifically about the process here for a minute. Again, since I work rather quickly and I like the paint to build up, it became a little bit of a problem once I got to the face. And you may have already noticed that the sheen is a little bit different. You can kind of tell that I did something different there. I don't know. What I did is simply this, and this is my trick, if you want to call it that. It's not much of a trick, but it's funny how, at least in my experience, in my life, I'll see things that other artists do, and all I can see is the result, and it's really hard sometimes to see or to imagine what they might have done to get to that point. And sometimes I feel like I'm spinning my wheels. Or, you know, I've been experimenting more lately, which has really done good things for me. And it's never a bad idea to copy other artists' work too, just for your own. You know, obviously don't try to sell them or anything like that. That would be bad. But for your own education purposes, I think it's a really wise idea. I don't do it enough, but. Turn around again. Anyway, gosh, I've talked it up enough. All I do is let it dry for a couple days. And I'm not trying to get these thick parts to dry completely. You know, that takes sometimes months, but it's dry to the touch at least. It's not sticky. In other words, what I paint on top of it won't pull up and bring up the colors underneath. And that's all I did. And then at that point, when it had been drying a couple days, well, I should back up a little bit. I was working on the face. I had tried to get some detail in there, and it just was getting too thick for that spot. It wasn't allowing me to get the detail I wanted with those thick passages of paint. So I scraped it with a palette knife, made it nice and flat again, and then used this brush. It's just it's a number 4 by Silver Grand Prix. Number 4, flat bristle. Not that that really matters. Everybody has their favorite brush or brushes for certain types of passages, and you should use those. But you know, it's always okay to experiment with other brushes, but definitely don't go out and buy a Silver Grand Prix brush and think that's the thing for painting ballerinas' faces, because that certainly is not the way it's supposed to work, or definitely not the way what I'm trying to get across. There are plenty of good brushes out there, plenty of bad ones too. But so I just kind of dry brushed it in. I mean, you know, add medium or paint thinner when I need to. And what's nice about this is if you know, I'm wanting to get like this very alla prima look, you know, all at once, you know, real fresh, real, like John Sargent did, you know, just like, bam, I got it the first time, first try kind of thing. When in reality, have you seen the Batman Lego movie? When he like throws his Batman, his boomerang thingy, I don't know what it is, like 30 times at this switch that he's trying to get. And he finally hits it and he's like, oh yeah, first try. Anyway, I love that. But so that's what you want. You want it to look like you got it like straight out of the gate. You know, you got it just exactly the way you want it. It's fresh. It's like, you know, you wow yourself or the viewer. Like, dang, how could that person get that on the first try? But of course, it's not the first try at all. It's just a, you know, it's the perception you give when you are able to try it one time, and if it doesn't give the look you want, there's no doubt that all this stuff is fresh. That really was straight out of the gate, but not a lot was required there. Again, it's just more or less abstract. As long as the proportions were correct, it's going to read as being correct. But yeah, but with this, sorry, I'm taking forever to explain this. With this, just, you know, it's dry, so just lightly and carefully wipe it off and try again. Luckily, this didn't take too long. I'll zoom in real close. You can tell it's a little bit of a dry brush, but in context of the whole painting, it still gives the impression of it being thick. Anyway, hope you enjoy that painting. Hope you're not afraid to let things dry in between. Sometimes it really can work in your favor. And even if you're going for that alla prima, you know, straight out of the gate look, in those certain passages where you need some extra time to get it right, it can still look like, you know, you can wow people with your amazing alla prima techniques, even though it's not truly alla prima. Just let it dry in between. I'll give you extra time to work. All right, and this is the next painting I'll give you a glimpse of that I'm working on, and this is at that point right now. It's more or less done, except that I don't think it's finished. And so I've set it up above my wall heater so it dries more quickly. By the way, that's another trick if you didn't know that already. Oil paint sometimes takes a little too long to dry. Maybe set it in a hot car or a hot room or greenhouse, something like that, if you have a sunroom. It'll, of course, dry a lot more quickly. I usually have it dry to the touch within a day if I put it in a hot place. Anyway, I'll work on that and maybe update you on that after I get a little bit more work done, get into it a little bit. All right, thanks for joining me. Visit my website if you'd like. It's TrentGoodmanson.com. And enjoy painting, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.